Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast. I don't know, hosted by your favorite gals, Sana and
Jackie.
Hello, everyone. We are joined with a very special guest,
Yay.
Sapna from Crafts by Saap.
There we go.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Hi, hello.
How are you
Thanks
doing?
for having me, guys.
Of course. Happy Wednesday, y'all. Hope your week is going well. So let's get into it. Weekend recap. What did you do?
What did you do, Sapna? You'll go first. Put you on the spot.
What did I do this weekend? It's funny when people ask me this because I feel like I tend to forget. Like, what did I just do today? What I do this weekend?
Right.
This weekend I was actually off, which was nice because it's been a while since I've had a Saturday off.
That is nice.
And I actually went out to Santa Rosa to celebrate my cousin's 40th birthday.
Ooh, fun.
Ooh, I saw that. Looked so much fun.
It was such a beautiful day. Like everything. I'm 30 and my cousin just turned 40. So I'm like looking at the day and just everything we're doing. I'm like, if this is 40, like y'all are giving me something to look forward to because this feels nice.
I love that.
Yeah, it does feel nice. They do say 40 is the new 30.
That's true.
30 is the new 20.
Yeah.
I think they just do that to make us feel better.
So really, I'm turning 27, not 37 in a few weeks.
Same. 30, 21. Going back to Vegas.
No, that sounds so nice. I love the Bay Area. I mean, not like specifically, I think more so like the winery like area, like Napa, like there's Santa Rosa, Sedona, Sonoma.
Sonoma.
Yeah, all of that. And that's something that I deal with work, the area that I serve. So of course you see all the gorgeous homes and some of them have like the wineries attached. You're like, oh my God.
And she's from the Bay. She lives in the Bay. That's why she's coming at us virtually today.
Yes. We couldn't have her in studio.
We couldn't send out her, I don't know, jet. So
yeah.
One day
I'm going to be taking my jet.
Yeah, one day we're going to be flying out our guests on the jet.
Yeah.
Come through the studio.
We'll see Sun and I's face flying through this friendly skies.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, I guess my turn. I'll go. Weekend. I actually had a surprisingly busy weekend.
Wow.
Which hasn't happened in forever. So it was actually really nice. And I had, helped a friend move. And saw my parents. I went to a birthday party and then went to a 1-year-old's birthday party.
Wow.
Which was really fun. And that was actually a good time because it's just fun to watch kids.
Yeah.
I don't know, because you have some nieces or nieces and nephews and stuff. Now, I don't know if you have any kids in your family, but just kids are hilarious. Watching them and just how they function with each other and the things that they say and do.
It is funny.
It's really funny. They're a trip. So, and it's also fun for me because I don't have kids. So I'm just look at that kid. Yeah. And the parents are like, oh my God, trying to figure things out. But no, but one of my best friends, she's in town. So it was her youngest's first birthday because she has 3 boys, which is pretty wild.
That is wild. That is work.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, but it's just kind of crazy just to kind of see, there was somebody else there as a guest there, and I actually hadn't seen him since their wedding. And we kind of bumped into each other, and I was like, hey, and it was just, it's I haven't seen this person since their wedding, and here we are so many years later at their youngest child's first birthday party. So yeah, it was pretty wild. Yeah. So no, it was a good weekend. It was busy, but not so busy where you're I'm exhausted.
Fun.
Yeah, it was fun. What about you? What'd you get up to?
So I have a new listing. So I did an open house all weekend. I basically worked all weekend.
The hustle.
The hustle doesn't stop. Don't think I did anything Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Wow.
I know.
Have we switched? Have we done a Freaky Friday
We
situation?
did have done a Freaky Friday. I'm trying to think. Did I have plans on Friday? No.
No?
I don't remember. It's been a long weekend. Yeah, that was about it. Nothing too exciting, just working and working out. That's about it for me. I'm an old lady these days.
You know what? I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it.
Got to hustle and then keeping the mind and health and fitness. I don't mind weekends like that.
Yeah.
And I also it's good. I didn't drink, so I feel nice and
yes.
cleansed.
Yes.
It's good.
You feel good.
There's nothing like waking up hangover free. It's just,
You know
it's
what?
just so
Or
good.
just feeling healthy.
It really
Right.
is.
For me,
peace.
drinking equates to eating a bunch of junk food.
Same.
So
Yep.
I feel good when I
Same.
don't because it's just a super clean weekend.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice when
Yeah.
you've made like good decisions and you're like, okay, wow, like I'm carrying this through,
Yeah,
carrying
this
it from the
through.
week into the weekend. So, no, it's always nice, especially once you're in your 30s and a hangover just it's different. So it's like
Yep.
recovering from
That's why,
small
Yeah,
surgery.
not for me.
exactly. Like when you described that weekend, I was like, that sounds great because weekends in my 30s just look a lot different and they feel better.
Yes, no, they do. They look different. They just feel different. But they're, I don't know. It's also like everyone's kind of on the same page, like when you have friends like
Yeah.
your age. So nobody's trying to get like too turnt, and because it's like, oh, I've got kids I got to go back to, or like, no, I have a job that I work and I got to get home, whatever. So they're just,
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of go back to like just good, simple fun.
Totally. I did do something really cool on Wednesday, though. Last Wednesday, I went to a place called Pause, which is like a recovery place. And they have a few locations. I went to the one in West Hollywood. And it's really cool. I did like a infrared sauna and cold plunge cycle for 60 minutes. You get your own private room. You know it's bougie when in the shower it's Le Labo.
Oh,
So
I love the Labo.
it's a really cool spot. So for my people that are into health and wellness and recovery, check it out. And
Yes.
Pause, give me a membership, please.
And
we
we
just
will
throw that in.
We'll take that
there.
sponsorship.
We'll take that
Thanks so
sponsorship. But it
much.
was really cool. I enjoyed it.
So we have a lot to talk about with Sapna. We're doing another Pursuing Your Passion segment today. So which we love. We love to talk about people pursuing their passions, if they're starting out or they're in it, what that looks like, their journey. And we also love always supporting a woman and a woman of color because, we got
Yes.
the brown girls here.
We love the exposure.
Love the exposure. So, to kind of start off, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your business and background, how you got started, kind of all that good stuff.
Awesome. That sounds great. So I have a gift shop where I sell cards and 2 accessories. I create a lot of the items myself. I started off with just doing handmade cards. And then later on, when I had eventually left my 9 to 5, which I'll tell you guys about later, I had expanded into accessories. So it's been a lot of fun to play with new mediums and see what items I can add to the shop and what things people are liking. Um, and then you wanted to know how I got started.
Yes. What was the inspiration? How'd you get started?
Yeah.
So this, I feel like I have to give you guys a little bit of background information because it was definitely a journey getting to where I'm at now, and it wasn't an overnight decision.
Right.
I've always wanted to be an artist. Like my earliest memory, I can tell you guys, was in preschool. I just was always drawn to like colors and playing with different mediums and just visualizing something and then watching it come to life. Like that's something I've always been in love with. So when I was younger, people would ask me like what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I always wanted to be an artist. And unfortunately, like, you just hear a lot of feedback from adults growing up, and it was like art's a hobby. That's
Yeah.
not something that you
Right.
do
Well,
full time.
that's what the Indian culture is coming through real quick.
And you hear it from adults, so your thought
Yeah.
is just like, well, they're adults. They are out there in the real world, so they know best.
Right.
And I did internalize that, and it had continued down the path that I was led, which honestly, it was a blessing. Like I learned so much during the journey, and there were a lot of life lessons.
Mm.
So after high school, I did go to college. I got a bachelor's in psychology because I'm like, okay, well, if I've got to go to college, and at a young age too, I always knew I had a purpose. I never felt like I was just here to live this life and then like that was it. Like it was always here to contribute to in some way. So I was like, all right, like I am intrigued by human behavior and I really wanted to give back in that way, was to help heal. So I was like, I'm gonna be a therapist. I'm gonna be a marriage and family therapist.
Yeah.
Love it.
And because I did, while I was wrapping up school, I did have a corporate position, and that's when I realized like I didn't want to climb this ladder. It wasn't for me. So then I ended up doing something that was more aligned with what I was going to school for. I was actually working as a behavioral technician, where I provided therapy services to individuals diagnosed with autism. I did that for a while, and it was very fulfilling, but I quickly realized that like that line of work wasn't for me because I got emotionally attached to people.
That's a tough
So,
one.
Yeah, that could be real tough. I can understand that.
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, it was fulfilling, but it was like this isn't it. So scratch marriage and family therapist off the list because that's people are literally coming to you to help navigate that. So I was like, okay, well I don't think that's going to be it. So I ended up in the nonprofit world where I probably had my longest time of employment being on someone else's payroll. I was working at a nonprofit and I was there for like a little over 4 years. And a year or so in, I sorry, I have to actually backtrack a little bit more. Back to when I finished college. While I was working as a therapist, I was having a quarter life crisis.
Mm.
Like, did you guys have one of
Oh,
those?
I definitely.
I
She
definitely
witnessed
did.
mine.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally
Yeah, like
went from graduating in finance to wanting to be a lawyer to working in makeup for a bit to now working in real estate. So, girl,
Yeah.
I understand the crisis.
Yes. I completely
yes,
understand
like
that.
I have this memory is so vivid in my mind where I was in the bathroom and I was just like ugly crying. And I'm
Me
like
too.
life just didn't
Me too.
right.
That was me at 25. I remember I was in my bathroom and I started bawling. Like I just started ugly crying, had this breakdown. Yeah, it was bad. So yeah, hey, shout out bathroom breakdown. Yes, like we love it. So continue.
That
Yes.
was exactly it. Yeah, like 24, 25 is when I had my quarter life crisis where I was like looking in the mirror and I'm just like sobbing. And it was the first time too in my life that I felt like I heard myself,
Mm,
where it was like, this isn't what life is supposed to feel like.
I get
And
that.
this isn't what I really want to be doing. Like, this isn't it. And this is a little morbid, but it's always like, well, when I come to the end of my life, like, am I going to be happy and proud of what I did?
It's
And it
true
was like,
though.
no, like at the end of the day, yeah, it really is.
Yeah, that's a great
When you
question to
ask,
ask yourself.
it was like it wasn't like I felt like I was always going to question and wonder, like, well, what if I did do something with my creative skills?
Yeah, that what if.
So yeah, and that's a big one. Like to come one day and just wonder what if, like, then what were you doing for the last 80, 90, 100
Yeah.
So I had that conversation with myself at like 24, 25. And maybe I like started crafting a little bit. I had like some supplies under my bed and I think I probably just started making a few things, but I didn't really do much other than that. Um, it might have been also when I launched my business Instagram page and I just shared like, hey, I made this. This is how you can clean out your candle jars and reuse them in this way.
I
So it
love
started
those
off out of
tutorials.
that. They weren't even good tutorials. It was just because I like to.
We all start somewhere, girl.
Yeah, you got to start
Mm.
somewhere.
Exactly. You do start somewhere. So it started off as an Instagram page where I just shared things that I made and took photos of. So then fast forward to when I did work at my last job of employment, the last place where I was employed at the nonprofit, a year and a half in, that job was remote before the pandemic had happened. So that was great because I had flexibility and freedom in my day to maybe take a break and go to the post office. But that I didn't just wake up one day and decide, hey, like I'm gonna launch I'm gonna start my business. I was actually in a sad girl season.
Mm.
It was the fall or winter of 2018. And I was like dealing with a breakup and I was just really, really sad. Like, when you're just kind of in the thick of a breakup and that person is the only person you can really think about.
Right.
And it was like, well, this is a place that I'm going to be at, then let's channel it into something because I'm not going to sit here and focus on something that's not even, that's not what it is right now. That's what it was. But let's focus on what I want to do with my life and like just something else.
Yeah,
So
redirect
I
that
really,
energy, basically.
Well, can we talk
I
about
love
how women thrive at their lowest point? A lot of women,
True.
they take that lowest point and then they just go up from there.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Because we're just, I don't know, we really like internalize it and we take it and we're just like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna.
I think there's a lot of I'm gonna show you.
Exactly. I was just gonna say sometimes a lot of it comes from kind of that revenge energy, but you know what? Then use that. Like
channel whatever
it takes. And if it's a revenge, vengeance, like
I'm like that too.
You're gonna be sorry, whatever it takes. Because ultimately, like I think you do, and I don't know, Sapna, if you kind of feel this way, like I think you do start growing from that revenge vengeance stage into like, no, I'm so proud of what I've done. I don't even care about that anymore. Type of situation.
It does transform into that, totally. Yes. But it ignites it.
Yes. It's the spark.
It does.
Yeah.
It definitely ignites it. And like honestly, art for me has always been an outlet where I come back to myself, because it's like I'm just creating for the joy of creating. So the process of making these cards, it was like me coming back to me.
I love that.
And it was just, it was a beautiful point. Now that I'm looking back at it, but like in the moment, I was really breaking down.
Yeah.
And that's actually when I had first launched my Etsy shop. I decided that I was going to open up my Etsy shop. I took a social media detox for a month. I said, I cannot get back on Instagram until because like you open your Etsy shop and then there's a whole handbook. And I'm like, oh wow, like let's do this right. So I wanted to like really make sure I was like crossing all my T's, dotting all my I's. So I took a month off of social media just to focus on that, which was really good for me. I felt like I was able to actually focus on myself and not what was going on in other people's lives.
Right.
So that's how my business had gotten started. It was really in a season of heartbreak, but I channeled it into something.
I mean, look at you now.
I know.
So.
No, I love that because I feel like it's the rainbow through the storm. Right? Like, yes, it's a very rainy day and it's gray and it's very cloudy. So there's just like a lot of depression, but there's a rainbow, and it's just, you kind of hold on to it and you see where it takes you, so it can be a beautiful thing. And honestly, everyone needs that moment of inspiration, so whether it be from sadness or maybe, I don't know, like, it was a really high or really low, like, you need something, which I love. So how did you balance kind of doing your, I guess maybe at the time it would be considered like a side hustle, or just like that, again, that creative outlet. So how did you balance that with your 9-to-5? Because I feel like a lot of people want to start something. And Kasana and I talk about this and we're like, let's do this, let's do that. Like we constantly send each other TikToks of like, we just need to create a frosé bar, like a mobile frosé bar. We're like, we can do this, Sana.
She's like, just find a junky like school bus.
Yeah, if they can do it, we can do it. And so, but me, I just get caught up in the very logical side, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, but like, how would you balance that? And how do you do this? And how do you keep your sanity? And how do you still have time for physical wellness,
or even stay motivated.
Yeah, stay motivated. You don't get burnt out.
You can get lazy quick.
Right. So how did you balance both the 9-to-5 and then what you were doing,
or starting it?
Yeah, starting it and doing, kind of your, I guess at the time, the side hustle.
Yeah. It's funny too that you say that, because at one point I actually had 3 jobs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I had my full-time 9-to-5, and then I had my business, which is another full-time job, and then I worked on weekends at paper stores because I was hired to lead workshops there.
Wow.
That's actually really cool, though.
That is cool, but that's a lot, though.
That is a lot.
Damn, girl.
It ain't easy to get to the top.
Social life.
Not to mention social life, and then balancing family, friends, all that stuff.
Yeah. So how did you navigate that?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't think at that time I even looked at my passion project as a job necessarily. It was like, this was fun. Like, it was a lot of fun for me to create things. So honestly, it kind of just looked like what I was doing my free time. Like, if I had the evening off, because that job that I worked, it wasn't like a 9-to-5, like a traditional 9-to-5. It would be like a 9-to-12 and then a block in the evening going out to meetings in the field. So my schedule was really weird. Whenever I did have downtime is usually when I'd start creating something, but it was also mostly on weekends. So it looked like, it's funny because I didn't know about boundaries back in the day, but I think I was probably practicing boundaries where I started to tell people no. Like, No, I'm not coming to that party. No, I'm not going to brunch because I've got to work on this. So it was really that prioritizing of like, I signed up for this project and I said I was going to get it done by this time. So I have to get it done by this time.
Yeah.
Um, and it really just looked like shifting how I spent my free time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But that is the hardest part,
I was just
right?
gonna say that.
Prioritizing, putting in, because sometimes it's hard to give up the social aspect, but it just goes to show how bad do you want it.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It really does come down to that, and you prioritize what's important,
Yeah.
you know,
And nothing
and
comes easy. You got to remember that. I think people always see people successful and they're like, well, nobody sees the journey.
well, and that's
Yeah.
exactly why I love talking in depth about people's journeys with small businesses
Yeah.
because everyone, and it's kind of like with even with like actors and musicians, you see them winning the Grammy, but you don't know how long they've done this, you know,
Totally.
like you have no idea, like, you know, the crappy clubs that they've played or the street corners, like you don't see the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
All you see
Or-
is the glitter, right?
Yeah, the
or
free time. I mean,
yeah,
it is a lot of sacrifice.
yeah,
A lot.
yeah,
So
which
you have to
definitely
be willing
sounds
to
like
do it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. You have to make it happen.
No, totally.
And that does mean,
Yeah.
like you said, saying no to the party sometimes.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right? Is
Yeah.
saying like, no, I can't do brunch. I gotta do this. But again, where's your passion? What are your
You got to
pursuits?
wrap your head mindset.
No, it's true. How did you feel like any like emotional, like mental or physical toll at that time? Like, was that really hard to balance along with kind of everything? Or were you just like, I was just
You
on a
know,
grind?
like going back to what you guys were just saying too, like it wasn't necessarily easy for me to say, hey, I don't want to come to brunch or I don't want
Oh,
to
I'm
come out
sure.
tonight. It was hard.
Mm,
So it was kind of like, damn, like the FOMO would have hit and
yeah.
you'd see on social that they're out and they're having fun. But it was like, well, I decided to do this for me. Like, so it did take that type of toll. And I know like I feel like we are our worst critics.
Mm,
So when I would take on projects, I would be pretty critical of my work.
right.
So that would get a little frustrating because it's like now I wasn't just creating something because I wanted to make it. I was creating something because somebody asked me to make that for
Mm,
them. And that just brought out a whole different judge. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
very critical of like somebody's paying for this, they want it to look like this. So that was something that I needed to like adapt to too. Was like, okay, they're coming to you because they like what you're creating and whatever you create for them, they'll love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of her cards were made to order.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But it's so true though. Like you have to remind yourself that like they're coming to me for a reason. Like and also reminding yourself like I do have something to offer. Like and again, not that it's always going to be perfect every single time or whatever. Not that you're actively trying to make mistakes, but you do have to remind yourself like I do have talent, I do have creativity, and there is something that
Yeah.
somebody wants, and I have it, you
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
Because yeah, that negativity and that critique, oof.
Get in your head real quick.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, so then how did you decide to pursue it full time? Because I know now Son had shared with me that this is, you know, you took it from kind of passion project side hustle to now this is what you
Yeah.
just do. So like what steps did you take to prepare for that? Like how did you know it was the right time? Like what did that journey look like?
Yeah. How did you just quit?
Yeah.
Because that was a journey itself. Like it was a very calculated move. So the thought of pursuing using my creative skills full time has been something that crossed my mind 3 times in life. The first time was that quarter life crisis. The second time was when I was like a year and a half into my last place of employment. Um, at that point, like I was really questioning, like, should I leave my 9 to 5 to pursue this? Like I had just launched my Etsy shop and I was like, should I leave my 9 to 5 to do this? And I was asking all the closest people in my life. I asked my boyfriend at the time. I asked one of my best friends. I was asking my parents. I was literally saying, should I leave my 9 to 5? And like I was asking them, like, how would
Mm,
they know what I should do with my life? So that was the second time. And then the third time it crossed my mind was in the summer of 2021. I remember this day very vividly. I was out on a walk, and not too long before that day, so maybe like a few days or a week prior to, I was having a conversation with my parents about investments. My parents had raised me to be financially independent, so we've always had conversations about money.
Yeah.
So I was kind of just like throwing around ideas, and we were talking about different things I could invest in. So one day I went out on a walk, and nature's my favorite place to really like just ground myself. And I feel like for me, walks out in nature, like not walks around your block, but walks like actually with trees and like feeling the breeze, like that to me feels like a place where I get a divine download. And I just heard this voice in my mind that was like, well, if you're going to invest that money in something outside of you, why not invest it in yourself?
Ooh, that's a good
And
one.
yeah,
No,
like
it
I
is.
quickly wanted to brush it off and be like, shut up. Like,
Yeah, I
get
can't
out of
do
here.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're easy to talk
And I was
ourselves
like,
out of
well,
things.
Oh yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, no, let's actually think about this one. Um, Also, something I forgot to mention was when the pandemic had hit at the end of 2020, like I was in another season of being a sad girl, but for different reasons because the pandemic was a lot. Like we
Oh
all were
God.
impacted by it.
Yeah.
And that was also a point in my life when I had started therapy.
Mm.
So at that point, by the time the summer of 2021 rolled around, like I was actively and consistently in therapy working on myself. So when that thought crossed my mind, I wasn't going to quickly brush it off. I was willing to entertain it. So I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, like this is an investment I'd be in complete control of. Like, I'm in charge of the money. I get to decide in what way it's utilized. And like, I just felt like, why not? And when I allowed myself to think of that, I was willing to increase what I was going to invest. And I was like, oh, like this sounds like a fantastic idea. Let's do it. So I immediately told my mom, I was like, I feel great and I have this idea about what I want to do with my life and I'm going to share it with you. But if you don't have anything nice to say about it, I don't want to hear it.
I love
I love that.
that.
Yeah.
Because like the thing is, I had done so much work to like address the limiting beliefs that I had and really identify the voices in my head that weren't my own
Mm.
and working on actively reframing them. Like I had mentioned earlier, where I heard that art is a hobby, that you can't necessarily make a living off of that.
Right.
And that's not true. There's so many people out there that are creatives full time. So
Right.
that's not a fact.
Right. No, it's
So
true.
when I had told my mom, the reason I had phrased it that way too was like I just didn't want to be triggered because I didn't know how I would have reacted given that I just allowed myself to accept this, like to allow myself to think about it and to actually be willing to consider it. So I was like, I don't want to be triggered. I'm just gonna tell her like if she doesn't have anything nice to say, I just don't want to hear it. But
Yeah.
I mean, my mom right off the bat was very supportive. She was like,
Oh,
why not resign right now?
I
And I was
love
Oh.
like,
that.
I cried when she said that. I was just bawling. Like it's all I wanted to hear.
No, it's
Yeah.
so nice having the supportive parents. And you and I come from the same background. So we understand how hard it is for our community or Indian parents or Desi parents to be on board with an unconventional job. Because
Yeah.
we are so born and raised to be like very conventional jobs, and you're not looked at the same if you're doing something else. So for her to just sit there and accept that, like, that's huge.
Yeah. That is huge.
It was like that's why I just couldn't help but cry because I was so happy of like, wow, like this, wow, like this is
Yeah.
perfect. Like I couldn't ask for more. So my plan at that time, so it was June, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna resign the day after Labor Day. So in September. And I know that sounds kind of random, like why would I just choose the day after Labor Day? But um I had actually signed up for a virtual conference. It was a 3-day conference. It was virtual because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to be riding that high. Like, let's just have my last day be right afterwards because then I can just keep it going.
Yeah.
And I also felt like I needed a little bit of cushion
Mm-hmm.
before I actually resigned to like really process what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
So I told a lot of people during that time that I felt like I was in training, like
Mm.
I was working on I was addressing the thoughts that would come across my mind and just work on reframing them and turning them into empowering ones. I really needed to gain a grasp on just being more financially aware because I knew that I was going to cut myself off of a consistent income. And being an entrepreneur, like your income fluctuates. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
like I
Right.
get paid every 2 weeks and it's not the same amount all the time. So I was kind of collecting like baseline data just to see like what did I spend on average in a month and how can I keep myself within a certain budget because I was living off my savings for a solid year.
Oh, wow.
Um
Well, that's
and that's what I
pretty,
had.
yeah. I feel like it's normal for a lot of entrepreneurs when you're starting out.
Yeah.
You're not going to make money right away. You
Right.
have to build.
And that was the thing too. It was just like, all right, like this is what you're gonna do. Like that was a part of my planning process. Was like, this is what I've got allocated for my plans, and I will be honest, it cost me a lot more. It
That's what
say
it
that it
always
does.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It adds up real quick.
It really does. And especially if you aren't aware of like lifestyle habits that you have, like and what where you can
Mm.
cut back from, and how you can adjust and put that somewhere else. So I did a lot of planning beforehand. Like I I made sure I paid off my car. I wanted to get better tools. I was gonna have to figure out health insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
big
I
one.
know, just the practical
Yeah.
kind of thoughts about it. Like, yeah, where do I go for dental insurance? Like, yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. So it was a lot of preparing for the transition. And it was just like little things. You really don't know either like what it is that you have to do because there's just so much. It's
Mm-hmm.
so many hats that you wear. There's so many things that you don't know that you don't know. And it's just once you start getting in motion that you realize like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. And I wonder too if maybe it was just me delaying from June to September and I just needed time to mentally process. But
Yeah.
I don't know, it made me feel more equipped and ready when the time did come. Like I literally had a countdown on my phone. I was so excited.
How
So
Oh.
exciting.
when the day came around, it was just like, let's go. Like I'm ready.
Yeah. You're like, let's do
Yeah, you're
this.
pumped. You're ready to just
Like,
come in.
yeah, just like launch.
Literally launch. That was the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, I love that. Um, so at this point, we're, at this journey where okay, like you've made the decision to leave the 9 to 5, leave the stability, which I think about that and I go into immediate panic and anxiety like when
Yeah.
the level starts to
No,
rise because that's
it's
a lot
yeah.
to go away from that.
Major props to be so brave and I mean, it's so everybody has these ideas we talked about last time, but to go after them is huge. That's an accomplishment in
Yeah,
itself, right?
yeah,
So
to even pursue it.
to even pursue it and now to go as far as being like, well, I'm quitting and I'm making it my full-time gig. Like that's amazing.
Yeah,
And it's very inspirational.
no, it is.
Thank you. Because it's easy to forget.
No, remind yourself.
Yes.
You've grown a lot since I've met you. I met her in 2019.
Mm,
So I've kind of seen the growth of the business and it's amazing.
no, that's incredible. So at this point, though, while you're going into it, was there at any time that doubt started to creep in and you're like, this was a mistake? Like, I did this too early, or oh my God, like I did not prepare enough, or no, this was not it. I should have just kept it as that creative outlet for myself and maybe made a little bit extra money, but yeah, just when or if, did doubt ever kind of make its way?
So something I wanted to mention as well is another motivator for me to have taken that leap was the fact that I was going to turn 30. So
Mm,
at
Mm.
the time I was 29 and my thought was I say it as a joke like I wasn't getting married, I wasn't buying a house, I wasn't having kids. So I'm about to start my 30s with a bang. Like I'm quitting my 9 to 5.
I love
So
that.
that's where like that's where I was at. I was just like, what better way to go into 30? Like I'm still 29, like I'm ending 20s right. I'm about to start 30s right. Like let's build the foundation.
Yes.
So I don't think that I necessarily ever had a moment where I thought to myself, I want to quit.
Mm.
But I did have a moment, a rock bottom moment, which
Mm.
was New Year's Eve for me. New Year's Eve, I actually ended up in the ER
Oh.
because I had appendicitis.
Oh God.
And while like I just thought I was having stomach pain. I like put up with it for a week and I was like, I'm gonna thug it out. And eventually I was like, it's New Year's Day. And I was like, or it was New Year's Eve. And I'm like, let's just go to the ER and get this looked at because I don't want it to be something serious.
Right.
And it turned out I had appendicitis. And they tell me that I need to start getting ready for surgery.
Oh God.
And I'm like, what? Like, I
Like,
just
I
thought I
thought you
was
were to give
getting
me
a
some
stomach
pills and I'd
pain.
be on my way.
Exactly that. Exactly. So they're talking about a procedure, and I'm literally asking the nurse, what is this procedure called? And I'm starting to look online to see what it's going to cost me. Because at that point, I had already gone through my savings. I was at
Yeah.
a point where I'm able to keep my business afloat. Like, I didn't have wiggle room for a financial or a medical expense. And like,
Right.
I started spiraling. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is a procedure that I didn't think about this. It
Mm-hmm.
would be so much easier if I was on someone else's payroll because
Mm-hmm.
I'd have better health benefits. I would have sick time because as an entrepreneur, at least when you're by yourself, you're a sole proprietor, you don't have PTO, you don't have
Right.
sick time. Like you're sick, you're just not working. So it wasn't a moment where I thought to myself, I want to quit, but it was just more of like, holy shit, like it felt like a moment that was just a rite of passage.
Mm.
Like this is the bump that I had to hit to see how badly I want this.
Yeah.
And I really sat there for a long time because I had the procedure and I had to recover. And I physically just didn't have the energy to one, be on my feet, let alone like my motor skills fell off for a while. I was like making a necklace one day and I just couldn't bead the same. And it crossed my mind too of like how like, I am relying on my body to like help me create these things. Like it was just a thought that crossed my mind of like
Yeah.
it was yeah, it felt like a rock bottom.
No, I mean, one hell of a rock
Yeah.
bottom. Like, but it's true though, when you said rite of passage, I do feel that like there is something that happens within that entrepreneurial journey where it's like there is a true wall you hit. And I feel like it's one of those
Yeah.
like Tough Mudder type walls where it's like you really do have to like run back and then run at it and just like take that momentum to like take you up that wall because like you are not allowed to go around it. Like you truly have to climb up that wall and over it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes total sense to me. That's wild. Oh my God.
And that's how I was looking at it too, was like, let's just take the season for what it is. Like you
Mm,
physically are in a different space. So maybe I needed to rest because I did just wrap up the busiest season. Like I was at the end of 2022, like I had done the most pop-ups that I had ever done. Like every weekend it was something. It was usually
wow.
multiple days. And I felt like my body's response was kind of just a response to burnout. Like,
Yeah.
girl, we're tired and you need to rest.
Yeah.
So
Like you need to stop. You need to slow
Yeah.
I was
down.
like, all
Yeah.
right, I guess I'm resting.
No, totally.
And that's kind of what the first quarter of the year has been like too, because after I physically was better, I caught a plane to India and I was in India all of February. So I wasn't working all of that month.
Wow.
And I wasn't working January because I was recovering, wasn't working in February because I wasn't here. Um, and I will be honest, like I'm at an interesting point right now where it's kind of like I'm just working in faith. Like
Mm,
I've when I made the decision to leave my 9 to 5, it was the most liberating experience of my life. And I use that word very intentionally because it has its ups and downs,
yeah.
but it's been so freeing to have complete control of what my day looks like. Like I get to spend it how I want to spend it. I get to do something that I genuinely love to do. Like I don't have anybody hovering over me, telling me I need to do this by this time, and they want to know what my day looks like. Like, I'm in charge of that.
Right.
Um, so it's exhilarating. That's what it is. Like, it's I would do it all over again if I had to. There's things I'd probably do differently, but I don't think that I would
Right.
have not wanted to make this decision for myself.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's always going to be a learning curve. No
Always.
business starts just like shooting up. There's going to be ups and downs always. And that's what builds it.
That's true. Well,
Success is never uphill, straight.
yeah, no, it's never a linear,
Yeah, it's
right,
never linear.
path. And it's also one of those things that like it's kind of like I think about it in terms of almost like childhood. Like while you don't want it to be too difficult
Yeah.
that you can't get out of, but like you also do want some stuff that you face because like it truly does build some character.
It
You know,
does.
and I feel like that's kind of how it is with the business is that you then learn, you know, and you're just like, oh, I've come up against something like this before, or you know what, I've had some major trials in the past and I've overcome those, so this is no different. Like it really like you kind of just get reminded of your strength and even the reason why you're doing this, you know, and that the fact that like, no, this is my passion, like I love it, and just one more bump in the road, but I can get if I've gotten over the other ones, I can do it again, you know. This one is no different.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, I think you're doing great for where you're at. I see that you're in a few stores now, which is exciting.
Thank you.
that is so
Yes,
cool.
I am. So yeah, when I was like in India, for example, I've a thought that I've been working on is like, how am I going to make money while I'm not here? Because I love to travel. Like, I'm a wanderer. I Traveling is a priority to me. So if I can't be here to fulfill orders, if I can't be here to participate in pop-ups, how am I going to get my products out there, or how am I going to start services? So I was like, great, like there's a lot of opportunities. There's shops out there that either purchase your products wholesale or I can do consignment. So I've been dabbling and playing with different things. I have a few shops where I have my products there, and it's been a learning journey, you know, of like this is what works. These products seem to do well. Um, yeah, so that's been a lot of fun too, just getting my work out in different places and being able to
Yeah.
reach more people in that way.
I think that's really exciting to be able to be in a few stores. That's huge.
Oh, that's huge. Oh my gosh. What stores are you in particular?
Thank you. So there are two currently. There's one which is a hotel in San Francisco's Japantown. It's called Hotel Kabuki. So there's a retail table out in front, and I've got a collection of my accessories there. There is another shop which is called The Collective by Celery in Hillsdale Mall, and it is this shop filled with so many different vendors. So it's an array of handmade goods.
Yeah.
We've got like there's apparel, there's crystals, there's candles, there's soap, there's jewelry. Like there's so many different things. Um, so that's really exciting too, because they've been expanding and having different locations in different malls. And I literally just emailed them today, like, oh, I want it to be at the Stoners Mall, which is located in Pleasanton. So yeah, I've just been trying to expand my reach in that way.
That's incredible.
That's exciting. What is your big goal, or like what is your milestone right now for the business?
A big goal right now is really just scaling and being able to continue to grow my business and keep it afloat. Really. I also want to continue to be able to do this full time. So I really need to be at a certain level in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest.
You're going to get there. I think you've already made big strides this year. So
Yeah.
I see you at a bunch of pop-ups. I saw you were just at an event in Palm Springs. Like, you're out there, you're doing it, you know? So it's going to happen.
Thank you. It's really like, I've had to try a lot of new different things, you know, like if you see what works, you see what doesn't work, and you really can't say until you actually try it.
No, that's true. Like it's just again, it's just I remember in school, cause my focus was entrepreneurship in school. And I remember I had one professor who just said basically like it's just bob and weave. That's like really what it is. It's just you're bobbing and weaving in, your entrepreneurial journey when you're starting a business, and some are going to make it and stay afloat and some are not, but there's always going to be lessons that you learn and that you do take with you. So regardless of what happens, and I'm not saying that you're going to fail because I don't see that happening, but it was one of those things of like, no matter what happens, like it's never a failure because you learn so much. Like you always have something that you've taken. So even if it's like, okay, I won't do that again or something, like, you take it to the next one, and you're just like, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Like I did learn something from it type of thing. But, I think the goal for you, Sapna, should be Target. I would love to see your cards in Target.
She's going to be the next Papyrus.
Yes. We're going to put it out there. It's going to be in Target. Then you're going to have your own stores.
No, her cards are really cute.
We'll throw up some images so that everyone can see the cards and stuff.
Your accessories.
I love that stuff. There's actually a TikToker that I follow, and it shows he makes cards, and I just love it. Like I can watch his videos all day long, just like looking at all the tools he does.
You actually do some workshops sometimes.
Yes. Oh, so that's something I wanted to work on too. So I really, in scaling my business, I want to, one, increase my retail partnerships. And two, I really want to focus more on my services like workshops, because I do facilitate and host creative workshops where I teach people how to make cards, or maybe we're bullet journaling or doing some jewelry making workshops. It's one of my favorite services because I get to share my passion, my skills, and watch other people's creativity flow out of them. So I really want to do more of that this year.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, she does literally like Zoom workshops too.
I love that. Because you know what I really love doing as someone who works remote, and I manage a team obviously virtually, and they're all over the place. I have people in the Bay, and then I have folks in Hawaii, and then someone else in Texas. So we always do virtual events, and we always go to Airbnb experiences, and we always do some sort of virtual event. And so I feel like that would be so much fun to be like, we're gonna, do card making or jewelry making, all this kind. And it's so much fun because you're right. It does allow you to kind of tap into that creative place. And then you get to see, I think that's so cool to be a facilitator of creativity, even if it's for that hour or two, like to see people just like, and I'm sure that as a creative business owner, you can probably see like the wheels turning in people's heads, and just kind of like, and I think that that's so cool to be able to, again, be that facilitator for it.
I love it. It's so much fun. And I do it with not just youth, but also adults. And it's so much fun to watch adults do it because I feel like we require more prompting of like, this is a work activity or this is a girls' night. Like, no, I'm not going to say no one, but like a lot of adults don't sit down and just find a creative project for the sake of creating unless that's already their interest. But I feel like when you're actually making something with your hands, like you're just activating a part of your brain that you might not be using on the regular.
Totally.
So it's really cool when I get to watch adults.
It's so cool. Yes. So last year for Thanksgiving, we were all in Big Bear. Mm-hmm. She hosted a paint night for all of us while we were in Big Bear.
Oh, you were the one who did the paint. Okay, because I remember seeing that on your Instagram. That is so fun.
She directed the paint night.
I love it.
It was so fun.
It's so much fun because honestly, I feel like that's one of the things that they were talking about with adults is that we don't ever play anymore. And as a kid, you are so encouraged to play and tap into your imagination because it is incredibly important for your development as a child and to, activate those parts in your brain and they're developing. But as adults, we don't ever get to do that. And I forget where I saw it, but I feel like there's a whole movement of like adults need to play. Mm-hmm. We need to go back to those play times. We need to go back to like recesses in a way, right? Mm-hmm. And playing with the blocks, and kind of just doing, random things because I think you're so right. And that would actually be a really interesting study. I think because I know your background is psychology, like it would be really interesting to see the psychology of it, of like someone who hasn't done anything creative for a month versus someone who has done something creative for a month, like every day, and maybe the brain activity, what spikes there are or how it's transitioned into other areas. So I know we're kind of getting a little off topic, but I think you're so right though, is to see
No, I love that.
adults
It's
get to tap into that.
that's something that's a part of my daily is like I need to play. That's why I go
Mm,
outside for walks. I roller skate for fun. Like I
I
need to
love
have
that.
play in my day to keep my like I have to feed my inner child, my inner artist if I
Yeah.
want
Yes.
to utilize it to make all these things. Like it's not a skill or crap. It's not a skill or that I just get to use for money or like to use to make profit. Like you have to actually nurture that
Hmm.
skill that you have and allow yourself to have fun with it without there being an end goal.
That's actually a really important point. I think the fact that there isn't like that end goal is just it's got to be a constant flow. It's got to be a
Mm-hmm.
constant source, and you do have to feed it. It's like a fire that never goes out, right? So you constantly have to feed that fire. And how do you do that? Like, and that's the way. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
go and you play. So that actually kind of brings into a question of like, so how do you do that? Like, what does that look like for you to feed your fire mentally, emotionally? I know you kind of mentioned a little bit of what you do creatively, but how do you kind of keep those fires going in the mental and emotional areas?
I read this book not too long. Actually, maybe it was like sometime last year or the year before last. It's called The Artist's Way. And the author had actually made a point that you should take yourself out on a weekly artist date.
Mm.
And you're doing something new, something fun, something different, really just that brings you joy or like something for your inner child. So I sometimes it'll be something that I've already done, or sometimes it'll be something new. Like maybe I'll go to a museum and just be inspired by other people's art. I'll go do something outdoors, like maybe I'm roller skating. That's one that's pretty consistent. Um, I've also, since I've been self-employed full time, I find myself in I do things alone often, like in
Mm-hmm.
solitude,
Mhm.
and which I don't mind. It's actually a lot of fun because I learn a lot more about myself, and like I'm also more likely to go and interact with people that I normally wouldn't. So honestly, it's just doing a lot of like adventures on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something new, maybe it's something I've already done, but it's something that's fun.
Yeah.
And being outside's my favorite place to be. So anything outdoors.
I love that.
No, there's something very powerful about the outdoors. And it's like I always say it's like the very hippie part of me that like there's something very powerful about the sun. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there actually
No,
are
it is.
studies
Yeah.
about vitamin D and what it plays into, just like the balance in your body and stuff. But I think that there is something so important about being in nature. And I grew up camping and like legit camping, like not like glamping, but like legit in a
Yeah.
tent camping. But I remember like sometimes the best naps that I've ever had in my life were like those afternoon, like after you got done fishing and but it was just being in nature and being like you said, like feeling the
Yeah.
breeze, hearing it, like hearing the leaves rustle, just wherever it is, like yes, just that nature I think totally grounds you. I completely agree.
It's so healing. It's like the warmth of the sun is so comforting. Like that's my favorite place to be is under the sun, just
Yeah.
outside. And I don't know, sometimes it's like when I feel like I can't do everything that I need to do, or I just feel frazzled and overwhelmed. It's being outside that really helps. Of like nature provides for us every single day. Like
Yeah.
it's okay. You're
So
in the
true.
season that you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. um I know we're going to kind of take a little bit of a turn, but I kind of wanted to touch on this before we, run out of our time. But being a woman-owned small business, has that been difficult in any way, or have you faced any like specific challenges because you're female? It's female-owned, founded, owned, and also just even again like women of color, owned. What's been kind of your journey with that?
Have I faced any challenges? Um, I don't think I've necessarily faced any challenges just yet, but I will say that there are times when I've stepped into rooms or sat at tables with a businessman
Mm,
and didn't feel the most confident
yeah.
just because of the way that that individual is holding themselves and the way that they're speaking to me in a certain tone. I'm also somebody, because I know that I am at the beginning stages of building my business. I enter rooms and spaces as a student. Like,
Mm,
I feel that everybody's got something to teach me. And when I
yeah,
come from that place, I'm more able to hear what they've got to say and take what resonates with me. Like, you don't got to take everything, but something that they're saying, because they're further in their journey, is a suggestion. Like, maybe it'll help.
totally.
So I have found myself, when I've sat at tables with businessmen, feeling a little bit insecure.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
maybe that's just me, because, at places that I have worked in the past, I felt like people didn't exactly um see me as an authority figure, because I looked really young, or because I was a woman. Like, so maybe
Yeah,
that's where that's coming from. But I do feel like there are a lot of opportunities for me as a woman and being of color. Is like, there's grants out there. I just feel like it
mm,
takes the legwork of, like, looking for the aid, and also telling yourself, like, hey, like, I do need the help and I'm deserving of it, so let me go apply for it.
Mhm.
yeah. I think that's really important how you said, like, I do need the help and I'm deserving.
Yep.
And I think it's actually when you said uh, because I'm on a therapy journey as well, and which I love, but that was something that my therapist taught me was you need to replace the word but with and, so it's like I do need help and not like but I don't think I can ask for it. It's like no, I need help and I'm worthy of receiving whatever that is, and I think that that's
Mhm.
actually very hard for us women to do, is to maybe
Yeah.
recognize that we need help, but also that we are deserving of help.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially women of color, because I think we're expected, I think women in general, but women of color, it's like, this is just what you do.
Yeah.
Like you just do it all
Mhm.
and you kind of suffer through. And, that's just it. And,
Yeah.
there's
It's
always the
been a
but.
journey.
Yeah. Oh, I
It's
can
been a
imagine.
journey of me to accept the help that people are offering.
Mm,
Um, and I know for me, like, I am deserving was a very deep rooted limiting belief. Like,
oh,
I
God.
used to engage in a lot of self sabotage. And when I really sat down and reflected on it, it's because I felt that I wasn't deserving of the things I really wanted,
Girl,
which makes no sense when you,
same.
like, say it out loud.
Oh, no, it
No,
doesn't.
yeah.
It doesn't at all. And it's crazy. And I don't know if you were ever like this, but I can tell everyone around me, like, you deserve more. Like, you don't deserve that, that type of, you deserve the best. Like, I am just like hype woman for everyone. And then when it comes to myself, I'm like, well, the scraps are fine. I mean, just a bit of the crust, if you can give, but if you can't, no worries, like, and
Yeah.
same, very self-sabotaging behavior. And you're just like,
Hmm.
what the hell? But that's why we're in therapy and we're trying to learn about
Yeah.
ourselves, which is always, we always advocate for mental and physical and emotional wellness. So,
Girl,
absolutely.
me too. I wish
Yes.
more people were in therapy.
You know what? We've always said this
Yeah.
nothing has to be, outwardly quote unquote wrong with you. It's about learning about yourself and
Yeah.
understanding yourself more and maybe uncovering some things. I mean, it's always helpful. I think that we need to really, really move away from that stigma from our parents and earlier generations of, something had to
Hmm.
be wrong with you.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to our hairdresser, Sana's and I. We share a hairdresser too.
Yeah. We
Um,
sure it'll.
and we were talking about, again, in communities of color, using it as a threat. Like, and he was saying how his mom would use it as a threat and just like, something's wrong with you. I'm going to
Hmm.
take you to a
Yeah. No,
psychologist.
it's so true.
And again, very brown communities, very communities of culture or color, it's, always used as a threat. But, so I love that you even mentioned, that you take time for yourself. And that's a lot of and it's funny because a lot of the stuff that you find out in therapy, it is rooted to why you don't pursue your passions and why you do limit
Hmm.
yourself. And they rear their heads in ugly ways for sure.
Funny, because so the only reason I ended up in therapy is the job that I was at previously, because it was the pandemic, they had 3 free therapy sessions.
Love it.
And I was like, I'm just, I've exhausted my options. I feel like I need to try something different. I'm going to do this first call.
Yeah.
So I did it. and it like my therapist and I immediately clicked. Like
Love that.
I talked to her like one of my girls,
Oh,
and she she called me on my shit immediately, and
Love
she was
it.
like, I can't remember the exact words, but she's like, the reason that you feel like this about yourself in your life is because you're just running around in circles with your career. And I
Oh,
was like, ouch.
you're like, but true.
Yeah. Like
I was
that's
like,
true,
okay,
but
tell me more.
yeah, like you're
Yeah.
crying, you're like, so if you can expand on that. No, totally. I love that. I love companies that offer that. I know our company that we work for, they offer 3 or 5 free sessions, which is amazing. So yeah, but so funny though, right? Because you're just like, well, why don't I give this a try? Why don't I give this a shot? And
Mhm.
then before you know it, you're in it,
Yeah.
because it really is. If you truly do want to understand and learn more, and it's great when you have a therapist who does call you out on your shit. It's so helpful. I don't want to say it gets addicting because that's not the right word, but it just, you are just so, you crave learning about yourself and going down that.
Yeah, I really see therapy as a tool and a resource that kind of helps you
Yes,
speed up the process.
totally.
Not saying that like, oh, you're going to be completely 100% healed, because I don't think that we ever really are.
Agreed.
But I think that it would have took me a lot longer to get to where I'm at if I didn't go to therapy.
Totally. Totally. No, I love that. So we have a little bit of time left, so I wanted to kind of end with this question. But what are your top pieces? I could say 3 pieces. It doesn't have to be limited to 3, but what are your top pieces of advice for anyone who is starting out with a side hustle, or a small business, and, either wants to take it full time or to continue to pursue that passion? What advice would you have?
Okay. I will stick with 3. So
Okay.
I'll pick my best. Um, I'd say number 1 is, if you want a different life for yourself, you're going to have to move differently.
Mm,
So you can't continue doing the same thing that you've been doing and think that your circumstances are going to change.
Oof.
When I decided to leave my 9 to 5, my life looks completely different now from what it did back when I was on somebody's payroll. Like
right.
I sure I was in therapy beforehand, but after that, like now I started investing in conferences.
Mm.
Like I can't like that was something I had never done before. I was cashing out for concerts, not conferences.
Yes.
Like, yeah, so that was a huge game changer for me. Like to one, be physically near people that are in positions that you one day want to be in, or
Mm,
just people that are at different points in their career, and it's very inspiring to hear about them, to hear about their journey. Like you need to get into spaces like that because there's just so much power there. Something that I also did differently was I started investing in coaching. Like
mm,
you really need to be mindful of what you're consuming, and like
yeah.
how can you get the things that you need if you're not getting it in your life. Like
Mm,
because like for example with myself, I don't before I started doing events and connecting with other creatives on social, like I didn't necessarily know anyone in my personal life that did exactly what I wanted to do. So it's difficult to kind of navigate that if you don't really know what it looks like.
totally.
So you have to really start moving different and getting around different people that are in positions that you one day want to be in,
Mm,
because you're able to learn from them. Um, I'd say another one is you just need to get in motion, and that will create the momentum.
mm,
Like if you have an idea that's been sitting in your mind for like months or years, like just act on it. You just need to get started. It doesn't need to be perfect, because as you start working on it, you'll be able to refine it. You can perfect it.
yeah,
It can slowly start shaping into the thing that you want it to look like. But if you never get started, like it's just an idea.
totally.
I'd really say like you need to just start moving,
Yes.
do something.
Yeah,
I love all 3. I feel you said all 3 of those super well.
we did.
I'm
No.
motivated.
I
Yeah.
have one more.
Oh,
One more.
one more. Let's
One
go.
more.
This one this one goes to also like being able to ask for help and like being deserving of it. Um I think it's really important to talk about your vision because one, like saying it out loud is like you literally putting it out in the world and saying like, this is the thing that I want for myself.
Yeah.
And second, you're now able to share that vision with people in your life. And I feel like people generally want to help. They want to help introduce you to somebody. They want to help with whatever. Like there's so many ways that people have helped me. It's just insane. And I feel like there's so much beauty in sharing that vision because you're welcoming other people on board to help catalyze it and just get it to where you want it to be.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's true though.
No, it is. I think that because I feel like we kind of do the same. I mean, even with our podcast, you know, it is a creative outlet for us. And yes, you know, one day we're putting it out there, getting that private jet, like that's where we wanted to get to. But we do, right? But that's something that I think that like we try to do. Like the more that I actually have to talk about it, like it's, and I don't know how maybe you have felt, but I remember like even now still like people will be like, oh, you had a podcast. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Because we're being very open and vulnerable. And I feel like the same thing when you're creating, that's something that's a piece of you, you know, and that's really hard to kind of put out there because that we open up ourselves to, critique and criticism, and somebody always has something to say about it. Always. But it does help. And that I feel like when we do say, oh yeah, we have a podcast, everyone's like, oh, what is it? I want to listen to it. Like, oh, that's so cool. Like they actually are very encouraging. And I think that you're very right about that more people want to help than you think.
Yeah.
And as women, more people want to help than we think. You know, but totally, I love all of those.
I think it's really good advice. So
very good advice.
You know, for the people that cannot see, where can they find you? Spell it out. Let out your socials.
Yes.
We'll link it up on the YouTube, but for people that are listening, maybe you want to spell it out.
Yeah. Where can they find you?
Where can they find you? Where can they buy your beautiful pieces?
Thank you. So I am on Instagram. My Instagram handle is crafts by Saap with 2 A's in Saap. CRAFTSBYSAAP. That's also what my website is. It's craftsbysaap.com. I have an Etsy shop where I do sell my products, and then I've got a website where I list out my services as well. And I pop up throughout the Bay Area doing different events. So you can either catch me in person if you're in the Bay or catch me online.
Oh, we love a personal appearance.
Yes.
No, thank you so much, Sapna, for being on.
Yes.
This is definitely not going to be the last time that we have you.
We're going to get you in person with or without the jet.
Oh, I'm coming in person. Yeah. I'm coming to SoCal, guys.
Yes. Yeah. No, we will definitely have you back on because I think you are such a treasure trove of wisdom. Yes. And I love talking to people that have been in it and that are in it and doing it, and learning and gleaning from them. And so I'm very excited to have you.
Thank you for sharing.
But yes, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, anytime.
I've wanted to be a guest for so long. Like when the episode where I felt the most FOMO was when Bianca and Aisha were both on. I'm like, why are I
there? Well, again,
we'll actually.
You know what? When you come down, we'll get Bianca and we'll get the wine.
Yes. And we will do.
I would love that.
Some rapid fires.
We'll do something because unfortunately our studio is not that big, so we're not gonna be able to have the whole clan. But you know, we can throw her in there.
No, thank you so much again. And like we said, we'll link all of her socials where you can find. Please check out her Etsy store.
Yes, and please buy things.
Yes, go and support.
Yes,
right?
Don't go to Papyrus anymore.
Don't go to Papyrus. We don't want to go to Target. Yeah. We're not going to go to Target to buy a card until Sapna's cards are there.
Then you buy. Then you go to Target.
Then you go to Target. No, but go and support. We love supporting a small business, a woman-owned business, and a woman of color-owned business.
Yes.
So again, Sapna, thank you so much. We wish you nothing but success from here on out.
It's happening.
Yeah, which is happening. So,
no doubt.
Absolutely. But thank you everyone for listening. We love you all, and we will catch you all
next week. Have a great week, y'all.
Bye.